self-sovereign, decentralized identity is the heart of Web3. So we have the power to do the exact opposite of what the World Economic Forum says. You'll own nothing and be happy. Well, here, you're going to own your own data, your own identity, and you're going to be able to use these public networks. You could provide liquidity and nobody could stop you. You could have a liquidity token. Nobody could stop you. It's not connected to the issuer. So it's a semi-decentralized asset. This is our opportunity. So instead of thinking a switch is going to get flipped and the world's going to burn and XRP is going to be anointed by Christine Lagarde on Mount Everest and being the chosen one. No, it's not the chosen one. This is going to take an ecosystem to be built out.
Automated market makers, I think, will help improve that liquidity because they can capture a long tail of assets better than technologies like order books can.
And a sort of secret sauce that will allow liquidity providers to get more of the profits normally lost to arbitrage, and it will be bolstered by incentive programs. The value proposition of XRP is that it has these liquidity pools. Automated market makers on the XRP ledger could be a game changer, uniquely positioning it to leapfrog other dexes.
The XRP ledger is poised to become an ecosystem of cooperatively interconnected XRPL protocol chains. Welcome to the DeFi Standard, and this is Mickey B. Fresh. I have something special from a very rare source. Arthur BRITTO, the co-founder of Ripple Labs, the co-creator of the XRP ledger, and the chief strategist at the time of this post to the XRP community. And this will dispel, debunk, and put to rest any doubt that the XRP ledger was built for only institutions and not for retail. This is directly from him speaking to the XRP community in 2014. He is now the chairman and creator and founder of PolySign and Standard Custody. But at the time, he was the chief strategist of Ripple, which is now David Schwartz's job. And he talks about, before we get to that, he says, what affects XRP's price long term is the adoption of the protocol and the growth of the ecosystem. As the value of the protocol's utility increases, so does the value of XRP. The price of XRP does not impair the functionality of the Ripple protocol or network. The banks don't need XRP to be $100. If I see that headline one more time, he goes, in the near term, our team is focused on building a banking infrastructure on the protocol. It's a necessary foundational step to enable other types of applications and activity on Ripple, which is XRPL, remittances, merchant solutions, etc. We're 54 employees strong and continue to hire. But here is the most important part. Our purpose is to reinvent the foundation on which global finance is built. Now that's pretty powerful, but drum roll. Your support and active involvement in building the value web is mission critical. Thank you, Arthur BRITTO, Ripple Labs co-founder and chief strategist and co-creator of the XRP ledger. Mission critical. So you're not a lab rat. You're not a test dummy. You are mission critical. And that couldn't ring more true now than it did in 2014. It's more important now than ever because we are on the brink of an ecosystem being built out, a massive ecosystem. We're going from XRP being a pet rock to having this huge ecosystem of Zahal ledger, EVM sidechain. We're going to have Futureverse and the root network. We're going to have Flare with F assets. We're going to have Xology and the security settlement sidechains, whatever other private sidechains. And once we get compliance with digital identity and sanction screening with privacy and zero knowledge proofs, boom, the ecosystem is going to explode. And let's not forget the most important thing of them all, the AMM. Why is that? Primary market liquidity. And in this, he says something that is very important and key. He says, he talks about the value of the protocol. And he says the value of the Ripple protocol will come from its utility. So the use of the network as a distributed exchange, because that's inherently what it is, and a payment execution engine that can atomically swap between currencies because it's an distributed exchange and a payment network with a distributed accounting database. Now you put on top of it an intelligent liquidity aggregator that uses the most advanced machine learning, Kubernetes, cloud-hosted, serverless microservices that can intelligently route payments through the cheapest path and deepest liquidity. And this is why positioning XRP to be the asset that they flow through is going to drive the volume, but that won't drive the price. And as you saw in the last video, and if you didn't see it, you definitely want to see the Liquidity Flywheel in the Prisma video. I'm going to go over that multiple times because it shows how the price is going to rise. I have not seen anyone to date explain and show exact proof of this is how the price will rise. All they say is utility, the utility here, banks want it at 100, banks need it at 100, the Fed needs it. All this other nonsense. But utility alone was a good starting point. But now, thanks to Dark Horse for discovering the Prisma, it's all about routing it through primary liquidity. But from the core documents, Prisma is powering ODL flow and is going to provide connectivity to all of the exchanges and aggregate liquidity with a single API. In addition to that, we're going to be building upon Prisma so it can intelligently route transactions between venues and ultimately drive natural liquidity on the platform. AMM liquidity pools are the most natural liquidity. So the XRP ledger and XRP, the asset, is a new asset class. Why is it a new asset class? Because it has protocols, and those protocols allow it to do cross-currency atomic payments natively on its blockchain, on its distributed ledger. And it has a built-in distributed exchange with multi-currency trading that anyone can access. And that is what makes XRP and its ledger even more powerful. So it's not just the asset that could be a bridge currency. And people say, oh, well, Bitcoin could be a bridge currency. Yeah, they could if you bring them to secondary markets. But Bitcoin can't trade other assets. It doesn't have an exchange built into it. And it doesn't have a payment execution engine with pathfinding. Arthur BRITTO brought the IP, the intellectual property for the distributed exchange, according to Bob Way. Now, combining that with this AMM is going to allow anyone to supply liquidity to these liquidity pools. We're going to look at the liquidity flywheel. And the liquidity flywheel is something that I find the perfect example of what will give you a visual of how this is going to work. We're going to look at the liquidity flywheel. And the liquidity flywheel is something that I find the perfect example of what will give you a visual of how this is going to work. I'm sure many of you will get this. Some of you, it might go over the top of your head, but stick with me here. So volume through the pools means increased fees, which means increased liquidity provider returns. Now there's a continuous auction mechanism, and since the XRP ledger, it's at a network layer, the arbitrageurs will be paying for the rights. So that's additional revenue. That drives up liquidity returns, right? Which means deeper liquidity because more people now come into the pool. Drives liquidity deeper. And what does that do? Drives slippage down. Slippage goes down, volume goes up. And then volume goes up means the fees go up. Fees go up, liquidity providers make more. And round we go. That's the liquidity flywheel. That is what is going to drive the value of XRP up. Now, by using ODL and Liquidity Hub, you're getting organic volume through these pools. And since it's all unified on the mainnet, and then you'll have sidechains which have pools too. This is TVL. It's going to lock up a ton of XRP. But here's the key. Since XRP's utility is as liquidity, it's providing a service. So it's organically earning from users who are paying reasonable fees. You know, each pool will decide based on the top liquidity providers how much the fee will be. They're shooting off payments into a corridor and it will get routed through. Prisma will route it through primary market liquidity. Primary market is the XRP ledger. It has its own liquidity market. That's the ideal place. Ethereum doesn't have primary market liquidity. Bitcoin doesn't. Uniswap isn't primary market. That's a dApp. Their liquidity tokens aren't guaranteed by Ethereum blockchain. They have front running and all this other stuff. The XRP ledger doesn't have that. Anyone can deposit in these pools. And then this drives a lending and borrowing market next to it. Locks up even more XRP. But the demand to provide liquidity into these pools is what is going to be the predominant driver of XRP price. Now, XRP's utility is as liquidity, and it's providing a service that's earning organic yield. So all that payment flow, it doesn't matter if it's selling XRP in or buying, it doesn't matter which way the transactional volume of ODL or Liquidity Hub go. If it's XRP being shot off into USD, it doesn't affect the price like that. And they say that in there, that it's just getting liquidated, but it's breaking up the payments. It's not putting downward pressure. But you know what puts upward pressure? Demand. Demand for the asset. And as more people provide liquidity, the price will go up. Point everyone in a direction to help you all just weed through the noise. Because we're in a period right now, we're about to hit major disruption. Because we have a lot of people saying the banks need XRP at $100. Like, that's the exact opposite of the reality. Banks don't need anything at $100 because the banks aren't using XRP in that way. We don't need them to use XRP in that way. It's not chosen. It's not about the asset. We need an ecosystem. So there's also the CBDC private ledgers, which they're testing applications and institutional DeFi on. That is their focus.
So Ripple has been talking a lot about, you may have heard the phrase institutional DeFi. and to some extent some overlap with sort of like Web3 or enterprise Web3. The issue there is we don't mean like IBM using SushiSwap. That's not what we mean by that. What we mean is products that are DeFi products, but that are built with the support that enterprises need. And I do believe that the number one blocker preventing enterprise adoption of DeFi, I mean, in the United States, there's all kinds of blockers, but I mean, globally, the number one blocker is sanction screening.
Then decentralized identity. If XRP can be the platform that is able to remove the regulatory blockers and hurdles for institutions to participate in institutional DeFi, they want those protocols. Their survey, like Crypto Eddie said in her interview to David Schwartz, she's the only one who has said this, along with myself, that I've heard. Maybe I missed it. Maybe somebody else has, but I haven't heard him, anyone or her, besides Crypto Eddie, say anything that their whole valuation report for 2023 was based on institutional DeFi, custody, tokenization, manage, move, and liquidity. That's what they were focused on, liquidity as a service. After you hear Bob Way say, well, we need to incentivize volume going through these different pools. Decentralized exchanges will ultimately swallow up all the liquidity. And as Bob Way says here, it will just drain liquidity from the other markets because it will incentivize it to go through. So if you have a big pile of XRP like Ripple does, they're going to slide the incentives over.
Key to the patent and its uniqueness as it relates to really Ripple specifically is for something to be a bridge currency. If you send payments through the XRP ledger, there's a feature called pathfinding, and it calculates the lowest cost path to the sender. And if you want those paths to go through XRP, it has to be the lowest cost path. Otherwise, it will go around XRP.
Yes.
And so the problem with that, when people look at bridge currencies, what they're saying about stabilizing it is in order for something to be the lowest cost, it really has to be sort of a predictable cost. And if something is stable, it's easy to make a narrow spread on trading it because the price never moves. If the price moves a lot, the spreads get wider because people don't know which direction it's going to move. And so if you're doing a bridge currency, you actually have to do twice as many trades. I have to trade dollars for XRP and XRP for euros. And I have to add on the fees caused by both of those spreads. So if I want that to be the cheapest path, it has to have each section, the dollars to XRP and the XRP to euros, has to be less than half of the dollar to euro direct market spread. And so how can you do that? Well, if you happen to have a giant pile of XRP, you can actually incentivize traders to create a narrower spread by supplementing them with some XRP to make that a narrow spread. And then as more people trade and the volume goes up, you can show that that will basically drain all of the other markets of liquidity because all of the trades are going through this market. And the profitability in trading something is the spread times the number of transactions. And if you drain all the transactions away, you drain the profitability of the other markets. So you can actually force everything to go through XRP as a bridge currency if you hold some XRP and you use that in that way, which is sort of what Bitcoin does and Ethereum does with mining or these other block rewards, except you're rewarding a different group of people. Bitcoin rewards miners. This algorithm would reward market makers or liquidity providers because that's in the long-term benefit of the whole ecosystem. So anyway, that's what that patent is about. And I really love to talk more about that, just if only to remind Ripple that
XRP USD is going to be the deepest pool, but that's good because then we find hops to XRP, to the Nigerian currency, to some other exotic currency and XRP will be paired to it. So it'll hop through that pool. And what does that mean? Fees. And if they could incentivize in the beginning, you create a competitive market, but on ledger. But unlike in the beginning, early days, you can't just have everyone trading on the ledger. Privacy issues, compliance issues. So you abstract it away for enterprise and institutions. But now you create this compliance layer where the trust lines already have built-in authorization. You can't swap between XRP and any of those regulated issue stablecoins unless you have a trust line with the regulated stablecoin, and you'll need KYC to do that. But you need it to be frictionless. Self-sovereign, decentralized identity is the heart of Web3. So we have the power to do the exact opposite of what the World Economic Forum says. You'll own nothing and be happy. Well, here, you're going to own your own data, your own identity, and you're going to be able to use these public networks. You could provide liquidity and nobody could stop you. You could have a liquidity token. Nobody could stop you. It's not connected to the issuer. So it's a semi-decentralized asset. This is our opportunity. So instead of thinking a switch is going to get flipped and the world's going to burn and XRP is going to be anointed by Christine Lagarde on Mount Everest and being the chosen one. No, it's not the chosen one. This is going to take an ecosystem to be built out, and you're mission critical to that, not BRICS using XRP. Just because ODL is in a corridor of BRICS doesn't mean BRICS is using ODL. It's ridiculous. It's absurd, actually, and the fact that people try to spin that. So I am a little annoyed because you're mission critical. Arthur BRITTO telling you that straight to your face. So I don't care how long you've been in this community, does not make it okay to say that we're test dummies and we're here just prepping for the institutions. It's a public network. That's what it's inherently built to be. The fact that I just had to make this video alone after David Schwartz has said that, we need to level up. But it's not just the community, it's the influencers that need to level up. Many of them stop taking advantage of people's gullibleness and monetizing it. Just because ODL is in a corridor does not make it okay to say BRICS will use XRP. That is not okay. It's a distraction from what the reality is. Maybe you should be talking about the hook sidechain, and maybe that we're going to get liquidity on the ledger. What does that mean for everyone? Well, there's a lot of staking over at Ethereum. That seems to be taking off if we get out of our bubble, because it is important to keep an eye on other things. And the EVM sidechain is our gateway into the EVM world. But there will be certain blue chip cryptos that will be their network effects. That's what will drive their value. Their money infrastructures and their protocols are what give them value. And XRP has a unique protocol that hasn't been fully built out. It hasn't had an economic model. The way Ethereum has staking, Avalanche has staking. XRP is going to have liquidity bonds, basically. You're tokenizing liquidity and getting a liquidity token. That's what you're doing. And that earns real yield. And it's providing a service. So it's sustainable. And it could grow. And then that liquidity token can be used as collateral. That creates composability. And now you start to develop an ecosystem and tokenize the liquidity. Let's think of that for a second. I'm talking more about this with the liquidity flywheel. Here's a clip of Zoe Cruz, who is former board member and special advisor to Ripple, says how if you could tokenize certain assets, they could be used as collateral, which gives them more value.
This is the beginning. At some point, you increase liquidity. And in the Larry Fink definition, I can now have an asset through this tokenization process that I can use as a transaction, but as a collateral as well. So if I can use something as collateral, I increase its value. It's huge. On a scale of 1 to 10, we're at 2. So it's way too early to call winners and losers, to be dogmatic about anything. Bitcoin is going to the moon and Ethereum isn't. Whether KKR is going to win or BlackRock is going to win, whatever their tokenization process is. Way too early.
Now, XRP in itself as collateral will help give it value, and that's good. But XRP and USD in a liquidity pool, an LP token is the tokenized representation of your assets in the pool, providing liquidity for anyone willing to swap between one or the other asset amongst a pool of many other stakers or liquidity providers. And that asset is of value because it's a claim on those two assets guaranteed by the ledger. That gives that XRP value then. And it is semi-decentralized because it's not connected. The trust line is to the root AMM account, which is controlled by nobody. This is powerful stuff. So, tokenizing demand for the asset, and we're still early. It's the truth. And speculation run, if that's what you're here for, well, then you're not going to see the fireworks. And there is no end. It's going to just keep going. And there's going to be pivots. So mind open and your mission critical. As Arthur BRITTO, the chief strategist and co-founder of Ripple Labs and co-creator of the XRP Ledger. And let's take it out here with David Schwartz telling us.
So that vision is, if I want to trade asset A for asset B, it could be a payment, it could be an investment, it could be taking a loan, it could be making a loan payment, whatever it is. Like, the concept of swapping one asset for another can encompass almost all of finance. And the idea is that the liquidity for that would come from public pools. And it might not just be one pool, it could be 5 or 6 different pools provided by different people. So if you have an asset, you're Apple and you have a whole bunch of US dollars in Ireland because that's just where they wound up. Like, there are people who need US dollars in Ireland who might be willing to buy those US dollars. You might prefer to have, euros somewhere or whatever. Like, this idea of those public pools that anyone can contribute a draw off of and access on a fair and equal basis. And then I think the other component is XRP as sort of the liquidity of quote unquote last resort. But I think in the tokenized world, the long tail is enormous. And so, yes, there's going to be lots of USD to euro trades, and whether or not a digital asset could be competitive in that space, there are circumstances under which it can, but they're limited. But if it's that long tail, people across a truly global economy, there's going to be a lot of transactions that there aren't those deep pools of liquidity for. And so that vision is if you want to make some asset liquid, you make it liquid to XRP, and then it's liquid to everything else liquid to XRP. And I think that's sort of the vision.
XRP's value proposition is these liquidity pools. And what he meant by that was its value proposition is to be liquid with as many assets as possible. So the idea of thinking that XRP is going to bridge CBDCs and it's going to be held by central banks and that's going to raise the price in the short term, it's not reality. This is reality. This is happening. These are built. This is what they are positioning for. So I'm Mickey B. Fresh, and I'm out.
So I was always of the mind that this system was going to be ripe for some kind of a disruption. And when I saw DeFi, I started to see where that disruption was going to come from. And I started to understand that this is going to be where it goes. And what I've tried to tell people is, what you need to understand about this new DeFi system is it will start in the third world and it will grow from there in the second world, third world, and then it will come here and completely flatten you. United States, I don't see us in any way being the leader in this.
Oh,
I think we are it's going to be rammed down our throat is what it's going to be. And it just occurred to me that this is a brand new financial system and that this is going to replace the current CeFi financial system.
you